Okay, so this is going to be a topic that I think most people face probably 3 times a month, if not 4 times a month when we have a fifth week, right?
That's
And
right.
that is when Monday comes crashing down.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
What is going on, my friends? DJ Dan back here for
Hey,
another episode. And DJ, I think the audible we called this morning is going to be a good one because
I think so.
I think everybody's dealt with the when Monday comes crashing down scenario, and I think we probably got to quantify it a little bit for everybody here and give them a little
I
bit,
agree.
So DJ, DJ and I get on the horn here about literally probably 10 minutes ago.
Yes, sir.
And DJ jumps on. He's like, "Good morning, man." And I jump on. I'm like, "Good morning, man." And we're like, "Holy crap! Where is the energy here? Where is this?" Like, see, there's DJ
Oh,
smile. Y'all see it now.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
those of you
That's right.
listening in audio, you don't see DJ smile, but it is literally like ear to ear,
Ah,
smile all the time. And it's funny because we go back and there was an image I sent DJ because for all you who don't know, on the back end of Restream, it kind of has all of your sessions that you streamed live in this one row. And in the one row, the only thing consistent is DJ's teeth because they're always showing because he's always smiling. And
oh
it's funny
man.
because
Listen,
I'm
that's
like I said to
that. I'll
what
tell you, that's trick number one to getting past crappy Mondays is just smile. You're gonna need to
smile
smile because,
and
oh
lots of
man,
monsters.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but so I said it to him. I go, what's like, what do you find this similar in all these pictures? And he's like, I don't know, it's your teeth. You're always smiling. So we decided to call this audible and call today when Monday comes crashing down. Because how
Yeah.
many of us, by a show of hands, you know, and this is kind of the I think the core nucleus of a lot of procrastination, right? Is you know,
Mhm.
so for example, like Friday when I was done, I sat down in my office for about half hour and I started looking at all the pieces of the puzzle. And you, as salespeople, have you ever looked at those pieces of the puzzle and said, okay, like I screwed the pooch here this week, or I did this and I should have done that, and I did this and I should have done that. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Monday morning, I'm going to come out and I'm going to tear the head off of this.
And then the
Right?
weekend, you really
And then
get
the weekend,
crazy,
yeah,
and
but I mean, even on the
Monday,
weekend, it's like you wake up Sunday, you're like, I can't wait for tomorrow. Like for me, for example, worked all weekend, as I was telling you, changing the house around from summer to winter and like, getting everything done. And
Mhm.
Saturday afternoon, I'm like, my knee is killing me. And then I wake up Sunday morning and I got like a 90-year-old hip going on and I don't know what's happening. So I literally feel like I should be at a walker all day Sunday, but we get some work done Sunday. And even last night, I'm lying in bed and I always do my schedule the night before.
Yep.
Like for sales reps, for those of you that don't
You do
have
you do it for
one
the
of
way
these
you do it
things,
for the day, or you do it for the week?
so Sunday I do it for the entire week,
Okay,
and
yep.
then what I do is Sunday is I take a 30,000 foot view. I lay out my entire week, and I say, okay, what is now, and here, so this is for me one of the greatest strategies I learned from one of my mentors was what is priority now, right?
Yeah.
Because and what I mean by that is, for example, you get a new connection, right? Whether you're doing a bunch of LinkedIn connection strategy, whatever, and you get a new connection, and maybe that connection is for, um, a CRM, hypothetically, right? So you're that sales rep that you need that additional CRM on your own. I know a lot of sales reps are like that, right? So some go with
Mm.
HubSpot, some go with Salesforce, and some go with Trello and create their own boards, or they do kind of like a Slack setup where you can see like whatever it is that you do as an individual. But let's say you have a demo plan, right? And that demo's planned for Wednesday, and you planned this demo 2 weeks ago, right? I believe, especially in our business, like it is so dynamic, right? Things change, things move, the pieces of
Mm.
the puzzle, they're like cylinders, they're constantly going up and down. But you've got like a 60-cylinder car that's got all these different cylinders, and
Yeah.
you're almost like playing leapfrog, jumping from cylinder to cylinder, right? And
Yes.
so Sunday nights, I sit back and I do a 30,000 foot view of my week. And I always say, okay, what is no longer a priority this week for my goals? So what I do is I take my big 5 moves, I take my big 5 goals, and I have those as the catalyst while I'm reviewing my entire week. And then I stop and I say, okay, this is no longer any good. So I put it on my first agenda this morning is to move the meetings that are no longer a priority, right? And so for me, as I move things, spaces open up, right? And then daily, I go back through my calendar every morning because again, Sunday night, this might be a priority. This might not be a priority, but something that I thought a priority was Wednesday, Monday afternoon, this might not be a priority. And, as I say that, for all you sales reps out there, please understand or think about, or maybe a different perspective. I don't want to tell people what to do, but just maybe as a different perspective, sometimes I think we need to understand that our customers, a lot of them do the same thing, right? So as much as a meeting for you on Wednesday and on Tuesday of last week, it was super important for this customer. And I know I struggled with it, which is why I bring it up. And then all of a sudden on Tuesday, they cancel the meeting for Wednesday. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's because things have reprioritized, right? Hopefully, sorry, I should rephrase. Hopefully things have reprioritized and it's not just the fact that you didn't sell them. So that reprioritization, I think, is imperative for us as sales reps, but also it's imperative to put ourselves in the shoes that other people reprioritize as well. Now, I am the one, when I reprioritize, I say, you know what, I'm very sorry. This is the situation. This is what's happening. I will put an extra 5 minutes into the email that I send or into the phone call. Some people aren't like that, right? And this is personalities. This is where we deal with multiple personalities in our business, where somebody's going to be like, hey, sorry, got to cancel tomorrow. Let's reschedule. And that's their way of saying, hey, listen, FYI, I just got some other shit that came up, right? And us as sales reps, we're like, oh,
yeah. Oh, that's it. That's it. What? And the thing is, I think, and what you're explaining, I mean, is the difference between somebody either responding to the change and taking the time to properly, respond to it, or reacting, and people just reacting instantly off of, oh no, this is crumbling down, and I sometimes will do that. The house is caving in, and you start to forget. Okay, what was the first priority? Oh shit, and that's where I think the hardest struggle is. You have a load fall off, and it's a big client you just landed, or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, and then everything else goes. But those things were a priority, and that's I think it was from this book, honestly, the Zig book, the Zig Planner. If anybody doesn't have it, it's pretty awesome. But it's Zig Ziglar. It's from his website, but it's a kind of a monthly, weekly, daily planner. But I think he goes over the strategy of 3, and that's where I started to follow was what is the 3 most important things that you want done that day, and then that week, and then that day. If you don't get through the 3, so you schedule out your day, but then the 3 things that are most important to you have to, you kind of want to pick those off before anything else. And so figure out what's the most value to you. But then what they even say in the book, obviously things happen. And so if you don't get one of those done, one of those goes to the first thing that you need for the next day. And then what are the next 3? And you just a way to kind of
I would even add to that. Absolutely. I would even add to that. Not that I disagree with the great Zig. I found for myself as well, and I think we're individuals, right? You got to do it for yourself. You got to kind of do it for what you. But mornings for me, every single thing I need to do creatively, like if there's any creativity, and I'm talking sales calls, I'm talking proposals, I'm talking all of this stuff. If I need to be massively creative, I do it in the morning. After 2 p.m., I find my creativity goes off this cliff. So what I do after 2 p.m. is I might do, file or write up I mixed this up. I might write up proposals. So before 2 p.m., I'll write down my value stack. I'll write down my sales stack. I'll write down all the details, and I kind of push it aside. And then after 2 p.m., I do the kind of typing or mundane, monotonous kind of data entry, that kind of stuff. I always reserve the afternoon for reports when I was in sales. So I would all morning and up till 2 p.m. I'd be creative. And that's just me, how I function. I'm like a very high energy output, like right until the point where my energy just goes and then I'm gone, right? Like it's so for me, I always found that dragging of where I'm dragging, and I'm working on it because I've also understood from a lot of mentors that it's a transition, right? We're transitioning from one function to the next, setting intention and all that. Like, yeah, when Monday comes crashing down, it's as simple as this morning, go to sleep last night with these massive intentions and like, that's it, we're going to crush it. When I woke up this morning, like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like I wake up and I'm up about an hour later than I normally am. And I don't use an alarm. I wake up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's a sign. And then it's like, you get out of bed and you're like, oh, and that's another sign. Now, here's the crashing down part that VJ and I wanted to talk about was like, what do we do at that point? We have a choice, right? So you and I are sitting here just what?
10
7
minutes,
minutes
15,
ago, or 15 minutes. It started at 9:15.
Yeah.
That's right. So call it 15 minutes ago, and we're like, all right, dude, we got to turn it up when the thing goes live. we got to turn up the energy. We got to amp this up because it's like we're both kind of right. So, but here's what I found, anyways, for sales. Is I found when I had these mornings, because I think we all have them. We have them more than we'd like to admit, but we have them. And I get into the office. For me, it was on the way to work or on the way to the office. I would put on, motivational CDs, and I would put on things that I love to hear about, and it would kind of wake me up. Not saying I would come into the office supercharged, but it's like, what is it for you that's going to at least get your big 5 moves done? Because the day can only come crashing down when you allow other things to control your outcome. And I don't know if we've talked about this. I don't know if it was actually, so it was a video I put out last week, but one of the big things that we as individuals need to understand is every decision we make controls our day, to the point of, and how many people has this happened to? You're on your way to work and you get cut off, and you're pissed off because you get cut off. And maybe that person cuts you off and continues through traffic and they're just oblivious, right? And you get into work and you're freaking out. You're like, dude, you know what this effing dude just did to me? Like, effing, and you're losing it. And for like 2 hours of your morning, you're talking about being cut off to everybody that's going to listen to you, right? The challenge, well, the way I see it anyways, and the big thing is you're allowing that individual to control your day for those first 2 hours. And not only that, the lingerness of it, I don't even know if that's a word, but the lingeringness of it goes on throughout the day. So this person goes to work, and it goes about their morning, totally oblivious that they're controlling your day, right? So that's what I mean, like when Mondays come crashing down, right? It's like it's already, I think, statistically the most depressing day of the week, right? And I think that's because most people hate their job.
Start on Tuesday instead. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Listen, but there's some things to be said about 4-day work weeks where, like, statistically they've proven productivity and stuff. But anyways, so I mean, listen, dude, imagine logistics went to 4 days a week. Come on, it wouldn't happen. But
it's already hard to get.
Yeah, but I mean, so it's like this. Like, what is your Monday crashing down, right?
Yep.
I think it's the first question we have to ask, and it's interesting we're talking about it because it's been going through my mind this morning as I'm getting up, and I've got an 8:15 meeting, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, like coffee's not ready yet. I'm like, oh God, I gotta wake up, and it's like, okay, Dan, who do I want to be in this moment? And some of you might think, oh, Dan, that's kind of Pollyanna, but it's so right. Like, consistently asking ourselves, like, who do I want to be? who is it that I want to be right now? Not that I want to be somebody else. It's who do I want to be? If my best self were to show up right now, I know I'm tired, I know I'm exhausted, but if my best self were to show up, who would I want to be? And I often refer to it, and I don't take this as too morbid, but you're exhausted, you're complaining, life's not good, and all of a sudden a family member gets hurt, right? Your exhaustion, everything goes out the window. Somebody once told me as well, on the unmorbid side, like, you could be exhausted, and then somebody would say to you, okay, you know what? Do you want to go on vacation at 12 noon? I got tickets to, you know, Aruba or something. And it's like, your exhaustion's out the window, right? Because it's
Yeah.
all,
You need
again,
you need what
perspective.
yeah, you need what brings that energy. That's
Hmm.
and that's you led that perfectly too. I mean, that's how I guess it's one of those tricks from listening to the YouTube videos and all of those things. Like Ryan says, Mondays, yeah, definitely a skill building and reflection portion of my five big moves. How you start the week is important. Yeah, absolutely.
Super important, brother.
And even and here's to that point where and kind of what the show's about today. If you planned for your Monday to go perfectly with your five big moves, and you wake up and you're blah, or you're just not feeling it. You want to go back to Sunday and maybe start Monday tomorrow. Um, that
I like
that
that one.
that's where I think you kind of have to just find what gives you that kick of dopamine or whatever, whether it's exercise or the biggest with sales. They always say best time to make a sale is after you made your first one. You got that adrenaline. So whatever,
Mhm.
I guess, gives you that push, that 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 extra oomph is kind of what you're digging for at those moments, or at least what I'm looking for. So what is going to get me excited? What's going to get me going? What's going to make me want to get out of this funk that I feel like I'm in? And just really try to figure out, okay, so these are my goals, but I'm off right now. So what do I need to do to refocus me? And I think that's the biggest thing is us getting them back to, and that's where I mean, keeping the books and having the books and having everything and just really staying on top of that, I think is key. But oh yeah, there's times when you're dragging and you're feeling like I said, yeah, let's okay, I'm ready to go back to bed. Let's pretend it's Sunday again and start Monday again.
Yeah, and but it's one thing. The one big kind of aha, if you want to, an aha moment, like Oprah says, is when I realized, and I think it was Brendan Burchard or Tony Robbins, one of the two. They both say similar. Motion creates emotion. I think Tony Robbins said that,
Yes.
and then Brendan Burchard um, amped it up a bit, where he says, like, if we want to get energy, we have to keep walking. And as counterintuitive as it sounds, it's like we have a goal,
Mm,
right?
that
When we
is
decide
good.
to stop, like, if we think about it,
That's good.
when we're walking, or I know me anyways, and I can speak for myself, right? I've got a mission at the end of the day, right? I plow through to that mission, meaning I don't stop, because when I stop, that's when you get tired,
Oh yeah.
right? Like everything.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like running, right? You're running and you might be sweating, and then when you stop running, that's when the flood of sweat comes, right? Like how I know, you work out, and like I'm sweating and boiling hot for hours afterwards,
Yeah.
right? Like in hockey, you go for the full hockey game, and at the end you're like, oh, now that
Can't move. Yeah.
exercise gives you energy, but it's like that, oh, right? Like, so I think for us as well in our sales, in our business, it's that just move, do something. Because I've found when I first heard that strategy, I was like, come on, like, if I'm exhausted, all I got to do is get up and start running. But how many times do you hear people say it? Oh, I had to get up so early to do this, and it was tough getting out of bed. But once I was up, it was good.
And that's
Once I started doing that, it was good.
making cold calls. That's what, one strategy we would use is you're
Or
making cold
prime.
calls. Stand up, wireless headsets were key, obviously, because then you walk around a little bit, get some
But even
movement
further
going.
than
Get
that,
some,
DJ, but like that, what the nucleus of what we're talking about today is even beyond that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if your Monday's crashing down, you don't want to stand up and make cold calls.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to when we say crashing down, it's like, it's like you want to curl up and go back to bed. Like
Yeah,
when you have that feeling of wanting to curl up and go back to sleep,
yeah.
um, there's no amount like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, if I
Wh-
stand for my cold calls, that's gonna get me
When
really.
you're
You're like,
there,
you don't even want to do
when you get there, if you haven't read this, guys, and put this down, Dan, I'm sure you've read it. Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule.
it. Yes.
Just count to 5 and think, is that really what I want to do? Because I do have those moments, and I use her thing a lot. And basically, the strategy is, if you feel like you're coming up to a decision or you're deciding to do something that might take you off of your big 5 moves, like Ryan said, for the week, or whatever you're, like I mentioned, the 3 important things, or whatever are your targets for the day, and something's taking you off there, like wanting to just curl up and go back to sleep. Do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom, just make a decision of what's gonna make the right decision to keep you going the right path and not the wrong. Yeah,
That
I use
reminds
that
me,
a ton.
it was extreme ownership. And I don't know if have you ever read this book?
No,
Oh, buddy, this book is insane, man.
I gotta read it.
Insane, like awesome. But he talks at one point in it, he talks about Jacko talks about um he says,
Jack up,
like
okay.
when you wake up or when you go to do something and you don't want to do it, it's either your decisions win or you win or something. And he goes, and either way, you got to take ownership of it. So like if
Yes. Oh,
I
I
mean,
like that.
oh yeah, and I mean
I like that.
it's one of those books that you gotta read. It's actually coming up. I think next month I start reading it again. Um, just talks about all of his all of these strategies in Navy SEAL and how they apply to our life and how they apply to our business and how they apply to everything. And it's so true. It's like every decision we make, it's either, my good friend Rico Rakowski talks about it like this. He goes, you got just 2 choices. And that's really, at every given moment, we have 2 choices.
Yeah.
And if you just do this, every time you go to make a choice, this is a choice that gets you closer to your goal. This is the choice that puts you closer to the dirt.
Oh, I
Right.
love that.
And yeah, and like when you think about it, you're like, wow. So every time I go to make a challenging choice or something's blocking me, or I say, you know what, I need to do this, I just go like this. Right. And you, like, I don't know if you ever see my computer, but choice by choice, I get closer to or further from my goals. Like all of these things that get me into the zone are right in front of me. I've got like, if I were to turn a camera around, you would see everything. I have all my customer value journeys. I have my worksheet journeys. I have my topics that I want to talk about. I have my posting schedules. I got my wheels of fortune. My office is filled with this stuff because it's all I look at. And does it mean I don't have bad days? Hell no. There's you know full transparency. There's days I go and take a nap at 2 o'clock and nobody hears from me until the next day. It's just what it
Yeah,
is. I
yeah.
do it. I choose to do it, but I make a conscious choice to do it. Right. And I think what
And you
a
take
lot of
ownership
us
of
do,
it. And you take
well,
ownership
I
of it, and you live.
100%. But I think a lot of us don't take ownership. It's somebody
Yes.
else's problem. I had an argument with my boss. So
An
we come in
excuse.
Monday morning,
Yeah.
right? Like let's talk about real life scenarios here. This is authenticity. This is the real deal. This is a show where we talk about real shit. We don't just make it up. I
Yeah.
don't know how many times I walked into the office Monday morning going, I am going to crush it this week. Within 40 minutes of being in the office, I didn't like something my manager said. I'm like, you know what? Screw them. I'm not making them money this week. Like,
Mhm.
as a commission sales rep, what kind of stupid, idiotic saying is that? But how many of us do it?
Oh,
And be honest with
yes.
yourself out there.
Yes.
How many of us go in, have an argument with, oh, the owner's an arsehole. The owner just posted about his new
Up or
boat on
down,
Facebook
up or
or something.
down.
Yeah, oh, it must be nice. Yeah, they've owned the company for decades. Go own a company for decades. Put your everything you've ever had on the line,
Risk it
and then
all.
when
Yeah.
it's successful, go and buy yourself a boat. You deserve it. But like, and listen, I know I'm getting, but the fact is, like, I had these. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this. That manager knows shit. I know 10 times more about them. I'm going to just sit here and be pissed off for the next couple of, like, what is that going to do? How is
Yeah.
that helping
Uh,
anyone out by
it's
you sitting there
definitely
being
not
pissed
helping
off and
yourself.
not selling?
Yeah.
No. Like, and even to the point where, operations screwed up. I'm not selling anymore. Now, that's a little bit of a different scenario being, okay, and I'll quantify this because I think it's massive. It needs to be quantified.
Yeah.
If your operations messes up and you don't have faith in your operations, two completely different scenarios. If
Mm,
they just messed up, it's called transportation. Get over it. It's going to happen. If
yes.
we don't learn from it and we continually mess up, here is a big problem when you sell. A big problem, because if you don't have faith in your operations, it will hinder your sales
When it's
1000%. If you
it's
don't
gonna
have
come
faith in your
through.
company,
It
what? Absolutely.
It'll come through to
Absolutely.
the client for sure. If you get lucky and land that somehow,
Go ahead. I'm just putting my book back. Oh, thank David Froze. DJ Froze. But yeah, if you like, the reality is, if you don't have faith in your company, if you don't have faith in your operations, if you don't have faith in yourself, if you don't have, like, these are all factors that contribute to a Monday crashing down, right? And
it's going
the thing is, oh, there you go. Oh, you were back and then you're gone. So he's coming back in. Hold on just a sec. So,
just go
like,
here we go.
the fact that all of these things stack on top of each other creates that crashing down effect, right? Like in order for something to crash, the first layer's got to go, then the second, then the third, and everything comes crumbling down. And as sales reps, if we allow that manager to crash our enthusiasm, right, then our attitude crashes. Then when our attitude crashes, then our personality crashes, and then all these things start crashing, and just we kind of implode on top of each other. Now, this can happen all within an hour, and then you turn it around, but this can happen within 4 hours. You turn around, this can take an entire day. Like, how many of you have colleagues where it's like, oh, there was a problem this morning, or the best is there's a problem in the morning, and you could hear that operations team have that problem, and then you're like, oh yeah,
Yes.
that dude, the whole day's gone for that dude, or that that
Mm,
that guy or girl, right? The whole day
oh,
is
yeah.
just a write
It's
off.
true. Yeah,
And they
yeah.
just, and I always knew there was one person in the office where when that happened, I would be like, okay, my door has to be closed all day, because he went around and started to tell everybody about that
Bitch
problem that
about it.
happened to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
And he's sucking up everybody's time. And the thing is, you're at that point, you're allowing other people's false emergencies to take control of your time.
What
And oh, I got to tell you about this issue that happened this morning with and I'm like, no, you don't.
when he and
Sorry, like, I got no time for it.
and I give everybody this challenge, and I don't know if that book really, I mean, what that book already screams to me is kind of what I've, it's been a struggle. It's a struggle. It'll be a struggle my whole life. But is try to, even in situations like that, when you know that the operations team is really, or somebody else really screwed up, screwed it up. Like, that really you shouldn't have had to go that extra step, but somebody else screwed up, and figure out in those moments even how or what you could have done. Because here's the thing, guys, and I would love to do show after show after show about this, but in the end, the only one that I can control is me. The only one that you guys can control is you. And so whatever you do, decide, however you react to it, respond to it, whatever the case is, though, even if you know full well that it's somebody else, like there's nothing and this is what I've kind of gotten my brain to really focus on is, okay, even in this situation, like, what could I have done? What could I have done? Because I gave it to them. It's theirs, but what could I have done? Is there something else I could have done? And if you just always focus on you and quit worrying about everybody else, let me tell you,
Well,
it's
so
a lot easier to just fix
actually, for
yourself than
somebody who
fix
hasn't
everybody around
read,
you.
absolutely, for somebody who hasn't read Extreme Ownership, it's pretty much what it says. Like, and I'll put it into a logistics term. No matter what happens, it's my fault. So if
Yes.
I am the sales rep and I am managing the business and I
Then it,
brought in the business from accounting, doing the invoice wrong, my fault. I didn't give them the proper information and make sure everyone knew how it went out. My
I
fault.
didn't double check it. I
Operation.
didn't ask. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it could be
Absolutely.
anything. And again, yeah,
Absolutely.
once you start
Extreme
putting
ownership. You own
yes,
everything. You own the
everything.
result or lack thereof for everything. And so you
Yeah,
own,
yeah.
and here is where
If
Bob
you don't like
Proctor
where your life
taught me
is right
this
now or how much money
so
you're making,
early.
it's your fault. Put invest
Exactly.
into it.
But even
Invest.
even further, DJ, like I remember one of the first times I heard this, it was Bob Proctor who said it. And he says, like,
I like pro
you're
yeah.
responsible for everything you do and your feelings. He goes, isn't that like a huge shocker? You actually make a decision to feel a certain way. And I know some people are going to say, no, Dan, motion is emotion. It just happens. No, but
Mm,
it might be instantaneous, but it is our choice and we have to own it. Like I'll use the being cut off example. Some people will, no, it's their fault that I'm this mad. No, that happened an hour ago. It's your fault you're still talking about it. Like you're owning that person controlling your morning. You're owning that. You
mhm.
need to own that. You're not owning it at that point, but you need to own it, right? Like it is a extreme ownership is everything. Like everything. Like I own when I'm not productive.
Yeah,
I own when I know I can get something done in 10 minutes and it takes me 45. I
that's where
have to own it.
and that's where on Mondays when you're dragging, when you got those Monday blues, remember, you jack off on this day, you screw off, you waste time on this day, you let it beat you down, and you're still gonna have to live with that tomorrow and the rest of the week. And now your goals are even harder depending on what you had for the week. And so, yeah, the ownership of that and the mentality of that, yeah, I freaking love it. That's yeah,
But do you find it interesting how in the moment you justify it to yourself and that's just, like
oh
you
yeah,
rationalize it, so you're just rationalizing lies to yourself that
yes, you lied to
it's
yourself,
okay
cousin.
to, right? And again, I'll go back to the manager scenario because I remember vividly. And I mean, I'm talking when I was running a lot of freight. And I'm just like, you know what? Nah, screw this. I'm going out for a 2-hour lunch. You know what? He wants to play that game. I could play that game. And it's funny because you sit back and you think, who lost? Like,
Yeah,
like who lost in that scenario, right? You have an argument with a manager. You have an argument with an owner. You have an argument with your operations team. Who loses if you decide to stop your productivity, right?
yeah.
The owner's not going to lose because
He
he or
still has
she
other
have other
people.
salespeople that are generating revenue. So I guess in the end, everyone loses, and somebody might have that argument. Well, if I'm not selling, then everyone's going to lose in the end. Yes, but you as a commission sales rep, I think are the ultimate. You have the most to gain or lose, and I don't necessarily say lose because, but in the end, I think it hurts you as a commission sales rep more than it hurts anyone else because you've lost that day's productivity, right? And that day's productivity,
Absolutely.
who's to say you wouldn't be prospecting and getting a hold of somebody that's your next biggest client, right? And some people might say, yeah, but Dan, you know what? Mondays are a shit day to sell and nobody wants to talk to anybody on Mondays because, you guys are talking about when Mondays come crashing down. Think about when customers' Mondays come crashing down.
Hmm.
100%. That's why we started
But
this with the
but could it crash?
conversation of
But could it crash
priorities
down and
pain.
you could be the savior? Could it crash down
There
and
you
you're the one who
Yes,
you
sir.
call at the right time, and man, you just not only did you fix their Monday, but you just made yours because now you just landed some customer because you were there at the right time. Uh, I mean, there's ways to always flip it to the other side, but in the end, man, I think really it's just us. I love that. I'm looking at that. I'm looking up that book as soon as we get off here.
Oh,
I,
yeah, extreme
I,
ownership,
I
Jacko.
will
He's a
have I
he's
will
a
have
he's
the
a
book,
maniac, man.
but
Like you follow the guy, if you follow him on Instagram, like every morning at 4:13, he sends a picture in of his watch with like his heartbeat on it, and he calls it the aftermath of his workout. It's just like all the sweat on the floor and everything. He's a pretty intense dude, man. He's
I
pretty
love
intense. But the
I love
book,
it.
I mean, like the book has concepts in it and strategies and a foundation and a framework in it that you really can't argue with. Like, and his is it's all military based, so it's based on his Navy SEAL, right? But he'd be like, listen, if I tell somebody to go into that building and something happens, it's my fault, right? Like I didn't prepare them enough, or I didn't see
Yes.
what I should have seen, or I got clouded by this, or I got clouded. And if we take ownership, right? And so think about this for a second. Like, again, I go back and I'm trying to use examples that I think we can all relate to, because we've all been cut off before, and we've all been pissed off. We've all had arguments with bosses, or with management, or with colleagues, or with operations team, or with customers, right? A customer
Yeah.
is a great customer, and all of a sudden Monday morning they're a dick, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so they're pissed off, and then now you're like, you know what? What I
Yeah,
do for that? Yeah, and you're gonna talk to me like, you know what? Forget about it. Raises prices, or I've done that. That's not nice. Right, raises price. I'm not dealing with this crap for that margin anymore, right? But in the end, are they having a bad day? Right? I often said, and I remember one of the first times that this perspective hit me. I remember a colleague coming to me and just saying, and he's losing about his customer. And first thing I said, and I don't know why it came to me, I go, what if their kid got caught selling pot yesterday? And he's just pissed off at the world. And this is before, up in Canada, it's legal. But, like what if he got caught selling dope yesterday? You have no idea what's going on in their mind. What if their boss came out and just completely tore them apart, kind of like how he or she tore you apart? Like, a lot of the times when we think about it, right? My arguments with my managers started because somebody put them in a bad mood, but because consciously they're not taking ownership of it, they need to pass that downhill, as they say,
Mhm.
where the shit flows. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
it's a human 1.0, where it's like somebody pissed me off, so I got to go piss somebody else off, because if I piss them off, I'm kind of transferring that, and I can go, I don't know if that's like the mentality of
Yeah.
it, but
That, that
you
might be
start
a
thinking,
that might be a sick mental idea for some people, but here's what
yeah, but it
here's
could
what
be.
but I will tell you, anybody who's never had a management role or never owned a company, you got to really if you haven't done that, then ask people who have. But my brother, actually, I think it was my brother who first said, I heard say this, but he said he told most of his guys that he's training to, if they're just an employee, he said, think like a manager. What would a
Hmm.
manager do? Think like a manager. And then as a manager, think like an owner. And then as you're moving up, and the only reason I say that and bring that up is because you gotta understand, regardless. So I'm gonna stick it to the man. This is what I'm going to do. If you think like the manager in that moment, you understand, okay, I'm not really, all that I'm doing is hurting myself. And now he is just looking at me like, what am I doing? Because
Hmm.
Monday I just decided to shit the bed because I woke up and felt like I wanted to go back to Sunday. Um,
Hmm.
and if you think that way and can really wrap your mind around that, and if you have a great way to become a manager, ask your manager, okay, what do you focus on? What are you worried about? What are you getting yelled at? Because it's all, like you said, it's coming downhill. So the owner is looking at something that maybe the managers aren't focusing on or looking at, and
Hmm.
it's screaming at them, this is not good, and the manager is not thinking that way. So ask your owner,
And
what are
there's
you
also
thinking?
there's also a point where a lot of the times, if I go back, I could speak for myself. The manager was right. Like, a lot of the times they're like, blah blah blah, you're screwing the pooch, Dan. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I am not. When I was, or like, it's like, Dan, you've been less than productive over the last, couple of weeks. I have not. I have. Like, I decided to just sit in my office and read a
Yeah.
book instead
I
of
made
making
it. I
sales
made
calls,
I
right?
made a
Like,
really fat week last week, and I didn't work this week.
hey,
And
you
then
know what?
own it. Just own it. We just gotta own it.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I think we're entitled. I think as humans, we're entitled for this, these screw ups. I try and own it as much as possible. Sometimes
We're
I get
perfectly
pissed off.
imperfect. We are perfectly
Yeah,
imperfect. Humans.
listen, we gotta get moving, because I gotta, and I can't believe
Yeah,
I'm about
you
to
got
say this
another
on
call at
air,
10.
and well, yeah, but I was gonna say, I can't believe I'm about to say this on air, that I got a hard stop at in a minute. And I did just put that in mind. So share with us a quick quote there, DJ. Give us something to
Oh
mull
man.
on when we go. You see,
All
you
right.
just come, you
No,
you,
no,
you
no,
come
no. I got a
unprepared to
good one.
these things.
I got a
No,
good
whose
one.
excuse? What's the excuse now?
I got
Who
no
who
excuse
owns it?
except I wasn't prepared. It is my problem. But I will tell you, I got a couple of good ones that I hit you with because these are so here I'll show you. These are my daily affirmations,
Nice.
and then the quotes underneath. But the comfortable road will never lead you to the person you were destined to be. I think that's a good one. But then this was Derek Jeter. And it says, there may be people who have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work